Professor Mark Swilling van die Universiteit Stellenbosch skryf onlangs Suid-Afrika kan sy elektrisiteitskrisis binne 24 maande oplos indien die regering 'n ramptoestand oor ons gebrekkige kragvoorsiening afkondig en dan skouer aan die wiel sit met massiewe groenkragprojekte. Ek gesels nou met hom via Zoom. Mark, so you argue that a state of disaster should be declared. Why do you say that?
Well, I argue that some sort of state of disaster is required so that we can address the energy crisis in a period of 24 months as a strategic focus for the whole nation. But what we need is a central coordinator of that grand mission. And there is no better candidate for that role than Eskom, who control generation, control the grid, and have the best collection of engineers, although they have lost a lot of capacity over the years. So that's really why. And at the moment, we have too many different players making too many different decisions that contradict each other, which makes it very difficult to pull off such a national effort.
So if the state of disaster will focus action on the issue, what kind of action should be taken?
Well, the most important thing would be to focus on getting enough new generation capacity onto the grid within this 24-month period. And the only technology that is possible to be constructed in such a short space of time is solar and wind energy, plus some backup. So I would propose 10,000 megawatts of new generation capacity, solar and wind power, and 5,000 megawatts of backup battery storage. That together would allow us to end load shedding in 24 months.
Many critics say that renewables are expensive and unreliable in certain circumstances.
Well, renewables, everybody who knows anything about energy in the South African context will tell you that renewables are averaging out at about below 50 cents per kilowatt hour. That is what it is actually costing now. And coal is over R1 per kilowatt hour. However, in addition to new generation capacity at that price, we also have to invest substantially in additional grid capacity, because the best solar and wind resources are in the southwest of the country, and the most significant grid capacity is in the northeast. So there is a build out of the grid that is going to cost substantial amounts of money.
And where is that money going to come from?
Well, we've estimated that through to 2050, you're going to need $250 billion, which puts the $8.5 billion into perspective that the donor countries have promised. Half of that is for generation, and the large bulk of that would be provided by private investors and independent power producers. So when it comes to generation with respect to renewables, there's a vast amount of internal investment resources that are available, as well as international discounted climate finance. That in combination would basically do the trick. So if you focus on the short run, there are sufficient funds within the country and available internationally to meet the emergency plan.
Let's talk about the international finance. Is there any possibility of getting more deals and even more finance for some of these projects?
Well, the international donor community is engaging with the task team led by Daniel Manele that was appointed by Cyril Ramaphosa. We're not really sure exactly what the real substance of those negotiations are. But what we do know is that we're looking at $8.5 billion, which is a substantial amount of money, 130 billion rand, that is going to be comprised of a combination of sovereign debt and some grant funding. That could very well leverage additional funding of various kinds. So I chair the board of the Development Bank of South Africa, and we've recently done green bonds with major international investors like the French Development Bank. So there is significant potential. However, we must not just look at external funding for our internal energy transition. There is substantial funds in the state-owned financial institutions like the Development Bank, the IDC, the PIC, etc., as well as within the private financial institutions who now understand renewables and are keen to invest.
Mark, thank you so much.